Unfiltered. I'm Logan. Have you ever found yourself in a conversation with your partner only to feel like you're speaking two different languages? Maybe you're trying to express your feelings about a tough day, and instead of understanding, you get a defensive response or an eye roll. It's frustrating, right? This is a common communication breakdown that many couples face. In today's episode, we're diving into the art of communication in relationships. We'll explore practical strategies to improve how we communicate, listen effectively, and ensure that we truly hear each other. Whether it's learning to articulate our needs, practicing active listening, or navigating difficult conversations, we're here to help you enhance the connection with your partner. We have invited a student from a diverse background to share his unique perspective on love, relationships, and everything in between. We're going to go around and introduce you, so please state your name, classification, and major.
Hello, my name is James Hicks. I am a freshman, and my major is mechanical engineering.
Thank you for taking the time to be with us. Let's get started on today's topic. Good communication is the cornerstone of healthy romantic relationships, acting as the bridge that fosters understanding, trust, and emotional intimacy. It allows partners to express their feelings, needs, and expectations openly, reducing misunderstandings and ensuring both individuals feel heard and valued. In conflict resolution, clear communication is a game changer because it shifts the focus from blame to problem solving, enabling couples to navigate disagreements constructively rather than defensively. By actively listening and articulating thoughts with respect and empathy, partners can deepen their connection and create a safe space for growth and mutual understanding, strengthening the foundation of their relationship. Communication is a crucial aspect in relationships. What is the difference between hearing and truly listening? Why is active listening essential for building strong connections? Let's clarify what we mean by hearing versus listening. Hearing is a passive activity. It's simply the act of perceiving sound. We can hear words without fully absorbing their meaning, often letting them pass by without giving them any real thought. For example, think about a time when you've had a conversation but found your mind wandering. You may have heard the words, but you weren't truly engaged with what was being said. On the other hand, listening is an active process. It requires focus, attention, and engagement. When we listen, we don't just absorb the words. We seek to understand the emotions, intentions, and context behind them. This means we're not only processing what's being said, but also responding thoughtfully, showing empathy, and making the other person feel heard and valued. Now let's talk about why active listening is so crucial for building strong connections. Active listening fosters trust and intimacy. When someone feels like you genuinely care about what they're saying, it strengthens your bond. It shows that you respect their thoughts and feelings, which can lead to deeper, more meaningful conversations. Furthermore, active listening can help prevent misunderstandings and conflict, as it encourages clarification and open dialogue. In essence, mastering the art of active listening can transform the dynamics of any relationship, be it romantic, platonic, or professional. It not only enhances communication, but also deepens emotional connections, allowing both partners to feel supported and understood. What are your thoughts?
Immediately, my thoughts are they jump straight to what you said about attacking a point versus attacking a person. Being defensive versus being readily open to tackle the subject matter. I've seen this happen so many times in my life. Oddly enough, I've been in a relationship for about 4 months, almost 5 now, and I haven't had many of those types of arguments that ever felt defensive or felt as if it felt as if the other person was being attacked. Whenever I have had an argument with my partner, it's always been a place of, okay, where can I attack this point, and where can I attempt to be more, I'm trying to find the word, but try to be more gentle with the subject matter. I've seen the opposite happen with my mother and father often, where instead of my father attacking the point that my mother is making, he'll often go on to, I mean, honestly, just almost attack her at times, and she'll do the same. It really depends on the context of the conversation or argument, but that struck me as the most important part of anything, honestly.
I agree. Honestly, looking back at my parents' relationship, growing up, I I tend to like to hear like their arguments and stuff. And I kind of feel like when children hear their parents argue, it's not the best for the child to hear their parents argue,
For sure.
even though they may not understand fully what they're talking about or the meaning of it. It's just the fact that they're hearing their parents argue back and forth. That's what's affecting them in a negative sense. And whenever I heard them like argue, it always felt like they will always attack one another instead of really understanding the other person and their
Right.
opinion or their beliefs or really what they're saying. Honestly, it's just kind of like, you're attacking me, so I'm going to attack you back. And it's more like,
Hmm.
how about we just understand what we're saying? It's like that type of stuff.
Right. And I feel like for like at least for myself, that's where like the belief of that stemmed from. Seeing that happen, and it wasn't like so often that it would like tear the household apart or anything. Of course,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, we still all get along. They still got along fine and great. But learning from that and applying that into the first relationship I've ever been in has been odd because I noticed that, oddly enough, I want to delve deep into my partner's issues, like any of them. But yet, it's weird because I often don't think about my own issues as much uh, as as much as I would think of theirs. That's the odd part of it.
So, did you feel like you didn't consider your own feelings?
I won't say I didn't consider my own feelings. I'll say I didn't allow in the beginning. I didn't allow myself to be as vulnerable as I should have been.
Hmm.
Uh, and I think that's something that also kind of comes from that. Um, because when you see that happen, you tend to just be more passive, or
Hmm.
at least I tended to be more passive. So coming from a space where I want to be passive about my own issues and not bring them up because I felt they weren't as important as hers, brought me to this place of not wanting to be anything anything outside of a crutch for them, if that makes sense, as far as their issues go. Which I've been told about again and again, and eventually I have found a way to like help more healthily communicate through vulnerability.
Hmm. Okay, okay. There are common barriers to effective communication in relationships. Understanding these obstacles is crucial for improving how we connect with our partners. First, let's talk about assumptions. Often we assume our partners understand our feelings or perspectives without actually expressing them. This can lead to misunderstandings and frustrations. For example, if one partner thinks the other should just know when they're upset, it can create tension instead of fostering empathy.
Hmm.
Next is the challenge of active listening. It's easy to get caught up in our own thoughts while our partner's speaking, which means we might miss important cues or emotions. Active listening requires us to be fully present, making an effort to truly hear and understand what our partner is saying rather than just waiting for our turn to speak. Another significant barrier is emotional triggers. Past experiences can influence how we respond in current situations. If something a partner says triggers a negative memory, it can cause a defensive reaction rather than a constructive conversation. Recognizing these triggers and addressing them openly can help build a stronger connection. Finally, let's touch on time and environment. Busy schedules and stressful settings can hinder our ability to communicate effectively. Finding the right moment and space for important discussions can make all the difference in how our message is received. Understanding these four barriers is the first step in breaking them down. By fostering open communication, being mindful of assumptions, practicing active listening, and choosing the right moments to talk, we can create healthier, more fulfilling relationships. What are your thoughts?
My thoughts kind of jumped to that last point you made. I didn't catch it verbatim. Could you read it again, though? Or
Um, Understanding these barriers is the first step in breaking them down. By fostering open communication, being mindful of assumptions, practicing active listening, and choosing the right moments to talk, we can create healthier, more fulfilling relationships.
got it. It was actually one of the first things you said. Being busy, having schedules get in the way. Um, that was an immediate obstacle getting over here to Eastern Shore because um, my partner lives back in Baltimore, so that's about 2 hours and some change away.
Same.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like navigating that, I guess, work-life balance and keeping them in the loop of things can be hard at times to manage. Of course, because you have exams, you have tests, you have quizzes, you have homework, so on and so forth. It's so many things. But that was the first real obstacle I needed to knock down because looking at my schedule from Monday to Friday, I'm mostly busy during the day hours, so I can't talk as much there. Um, that's all I had to really say about that point, though. Um,
Okay. Honestly, for me, all of those hit different. Like the assumptions, active listening, emotional triggers, and time and environment. All of those are great points that I believe everybody who is listening and is here currently at this point in time should take into consideration.
right.
Like the assumptions, I do a lot of that. Like assuming that they understand how I feel
Yeah.
and things like that. Active listening, that's a hard one. I struggle to do that. And it's
Same.
so hard. And with me having ADHD, bro,
Yes.
I'd be like, man, I just want to say what I want to say, and I'm going to forget if I don't say it.
Right.
So then I end up trying to remember what I'm saying, but I'm not listening to him
Mm-hmm.
at the same time. So then it's like a listening to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. I find oddly enough it's the same thing for me. From time to time, of course. It's oddly enough though. It's not really. I don't know. I don't know the reason why though. I have ADHD as well, so I get that. Like, I want to say this now because if I don't say this now, I'm going to forget it.
Right.
But
Oh my god, especially when both of you are long-winded when you
yes.
talk. I talk for long periods of time. He talks for long periods of time. So it's like, bro, when he talks for a long time, I'm like, oh my god, I'm about to lose my whole point, man. Can you just pause for 1 second? Because I got
Yeah.
something to say to something you said like 5 minutes ago.
Exactly.
It's so terrible.
And it would be like, I often leave voice notes. I found because I don't know. I just, like you said, there's a lot in my head that's going on, and I have to get that out. And I might be stuck on something from like a week or two ago, like straight confused about it because I'm like, okay, the last time we talked about this, we didn't fully address it. Now we're talking about it again.
Right.
What am I supposed to? Not necessarily that that's ever happened in a bad way per se, but I don't know. It's a lot. Even now, it's just like there's certain things coming to my mind, and it's just like a flood, a rush of things that want to be said.
Right. And like the emotional triggers, I have a lot of past trauma that and because of that, a lot of things that my partner does, it will trigger me and I'll like respond in a certain way. Like I'll get angry, I'll get defensive, or I'll get snippy.
Right.
And it's all based off like that trauma.
Mm-hmm.
And then the time and environment. There was a point you made where it was like, well, something happened 2 weeks ago, and now I want to talk about it now, you
Yeah.
know, or I make this mistake. Like, I'll come and I'll try to talk to him about something, and I don't even consider how he's feeling in the moment. Like, is he in the right headspace? Is he in the right mental space to have a discussion right now? Like, sit down and talk.
Right.
And so, me and him, we've like talked about this several times, and we were like, well, maybe you should like ask
Mhm.
if I'm like available to sit down and talk,
Right.
instead of just like coming in and be like, hey, we need to talk, and then I goes blah 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 blah, and just like blast it off, and then maybe he's not like really there,
Mhm.
and maybe that will like irritate him or make him mad. So it's best to like make sure they're not stressed about anything, they're in the right headspace to sit down and have a conversation, because maybe at that moment in time it's not the best.
Right. And as someone who I will admit I have dealt with that, I'm not going to share any stories or anything though for the sake of her. That's her story to tell. It's not mine. But there have been times where I'm like sitting there and I it's odd because I'm sort of into spontaneity as opposed to like fixed timings and whatever. So if anything, I invite it, and I'm just like, look, if you ever have an issue, if you ever have anything, talk to me about it. I may be in the middle of a class. I may be just getting out of a class. I may be, it may be 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm getting up to get a midnight snack. Talk to me about it. And
That's how I am.
maybe that's just me being naive though. Again, I've only been in a relationship for 4 months and 22 days, but I don't know. I feel like kind of sort of what I said earlier, like that being the ability to be open sort of plays into that as well, especially for time. But not all people are going to respond that way. And so for some people, you have to be like, okay, this is a set time where I can talk. This is a set time where I can talk. Or better yet, hey, do you want to talk about this? If not, we can hold it off till later.
Right.
Something along those lines. And that's actually something she regulates more than I do, oddly enough,
Hmm.
which is, I mean, I'm pretty happy about, honestly, but
Hmm.
at the same time, I just don't do it for myself. I don't think as much as I should.
Hmm. What is the importance of building awareness in our communication habits? Why is the impact that this has on our relationship? Oh, what is the impact that this has on our relationships? Being mindful of how we communicate can lead to deeper connections and a better understanding of our partners. Communication is often described as the backbone of any relationship. When we are aware of how we communicate, our tone, body language, and choice of words, we can express ourselves more clearly and authentically. This mindfulness is our communication. This mindfulness in our communication can prevent misunderstandings and reduce conflicts,
Hmm.
allowing for healthier interactions with our partners. One key aspect of building awareness is recognizing our triggers and communication styles. For example, some people may become defensive when receiving feedback, while others
Hmm.
might withdraw. By understanding our own tendencies and those of our partners, we can tailor our communication to foster a more open and supportive environment. This not only enhances our ability to express our needs and feelings, but also encourages our partners to do the same.
Hmm.
Moreover, being mindful of our communication habits leads to deeper connections. When we actively listen and engage in empathetic dialogue, we show our partners that we value their thoughts and feelings. This creates a safe space for vulnerability, allowing both individuals to express themselves without fear of judgment.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts?
My thoughts are sort of just, um, I've already been saying my bit about vulnerability and being open, I feel like, but just to add to it, yeah, understanding the way your partner communicates, honestly, like, is such a heavy detail about that because at first I didn't think my partner would communicate the way she does. Um, she oddly enough kind of takes the same mindset that I do when it comes to talking about certain things, whether that's like personal life, so on and so forth. and I had to sort of be. Mm, I sort of had to offer like just a space, I guess. It's weird to explain. I'm losing my train of thought. I
It's
apologize.
alright. It's alright. Hmm. I think, yeah, definitely, like, some people become defensive when they receive critique and feedback,
Yeah.
and when others, like, get us, like, a critique, they might, like, withdraw and not want to talk about it. And I
At,
think if we learn to, like, understand that's what we do when we receive feedback,
right.
then we can, like, better communicate with our partners.
And I've realized that I, uh, well, she, again, not telling anything of her, but she tends to withdraw and just like dismiss situations entirely from time to time, which kind of like, I wouldn't say it hurts me, but it more so just like makes me feel I can't find the word for it, but I'll just say hurt just as a substitute word, because it's like I know issues don't go away for people within like a day, within 2 days. Most of them aren't resolved like that. So for her to withdraw and for me to offer that open space is sort of like, hey, whenever you feel you're ready to come back, that's how I try to accommodate for that withdrawal
Mm-hmm.
style. I try to just I take my hands off and I'm like, all right, if you want to come back to me about it, come back to me
Oh,
about
the
it. If
door's
you don't, then
open.
right, the
Right.
door is always going to be open. It's
Right.
never going to be an issue. And the other style you were describing, what was that one?
It's like becoming defensive when you receive critique or feedback.
I noticed that a lot of the time I actually, and this is on relationships just beyond like this one, of course. My mother, my sister, anybody, you give me feedback, most of the time I'm going to get defensive and I'm going to be like, okay, wait a minute. No. And a lot of the time the feedback is generally positive too. Even coming from my partner herself, it'll be like, take a break because you're pushing yourself too hard on your work. You're over stressing about your work and you're not taking time to take care of yourself. And we want you to be well. And I get defensive and I'm like, no, why would I? I'm not doing this until it gets done, which is it can be a good mindset in the right times, but in moments where you're on that edge and you're about to break, it's actually very crucial to take their advice.
Mm-hmm. I definitely agree. What are some practical strategies for better communication? Well, you have to ask open ended questions. Encourage sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of asking, did you have a good day? Try, what was the best part of your day? This invites your partner to share their experiences in more detail. Explore feelings. Rather than saying, are you okay? You might ask, how are you feeling about what happened earlier? This encourages a deeper emotional exchange and shows that you care about their feelings. Foster reflection. Instead of, do you like this movie? You can ask, what did you think about the themes in this movie? This allows the other person to express their thoughts and opinions, fostering a more engaging discussion. Guide future conversations.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to understand your partner's goals better, instead of asking, are you happy at work? Ask, what are your career aspirations and how can I support you? This not only opens up the conversation, but also shows your willingness to be involved in their journey. Then also follow up. After asking an open ended question, be sure to actively listen and follow up with additional questions based on their responses. This demonstrates genuine interest and keeps the conversation flowing. Avoid mind reading. It's easy to fall into a trap of assuming we know what our partner or friend is thinking or feeling, but this can lead to misunderstandings and unnecessary conflict.
Mm-hmm.
First, let's emphasize the importance of clarity. Instead of guessing what your partner might be upset about, it's essential to ask open ended questions. For example, instead of saying, "You seem upset, is it about what I did?" You could ask, "I noticed you seem a bit off today. Would you like to talk about what's on your mind?"
Mm-hmm.
This approach invites a genuine dialogue rather than making assumptions. Express your feelings openly. If you're feeling anxious or worried about a situation, share that. For instance, saying, "I'm feeling a bit anxious because I'm unsure how you feel about our conversation yesterday," encourages your partner to share their perspective.
Right.
This not only fosters better understanding, but also builds trust. Practice active listening.
Mm-hmm.
When your partner is speaking, focus entirely on what they're saying without planning your response in your head. Ditto. Reflect what you hear by summarizing their points or asking clarifying questions. This shows that you value their thoughts and helps prevent misunderstandings. The power of I statements. When we use I statements, we shift the focus from blaming others to sharing our feelings and experiences. For example, instead of saying, "You never listen to me," which can make the other person feel attacked, you might say, "I feel unheard when I'm trying to share my thoughts." This simple change in phrasing can help prevent defensive reactions and opens the door for more productive conversations. Here are a few practical steps for using I statements effectively. Identify your feelings. Take a moment to recognize what you're feeling. Are you hurt, frustrated, or disappointed? Naming your feelings is the first step in communicating them effectively. 2. Use clear language. Structure your statement like this: "I feel emotion when specific situation. I would appreciate what you need."
Mm-hmm.
This gives the other person clarity about what you're feeling and how they can support you. 3. Stay focused on the issue. Keep the conversation centered around your feelings and needs, rather than bringing in past grievances or unrelated issues. This helps maintain a constructive dialogue. And 4. Practice active listening. We keep going through this the entire time. Active listening is very important. After sharing your I statement, invite the other person to respond. Listen to their perspective without interrupting, which fosters a two-way conversation and deepens understanding. Using I statements can transform the way we communicate, helping us connect more authentically and resolve conflicts with compassion. Remember, it's about expressing yourself while inviting an understanding rather than creating defensiveness. Timing and environment. It's important to choose the right moment to discuss significant issues. Timing can significantly influence the outcome of your conversation. For instance, bringing up a serious topic when one partner is distracted, stressed, or tired can lead to misunderstandings or defensiveness. Aim to have these discussions when both parties are relaxed and can give each other their full attention. Consider setting aside time specifically for deeper conversations, ensuring that both individuals feel prepared and open. Equally important is the environment where these discussions take place. Opt for a private and comfortable setting where both partners feel safe and secure. A quiet space, free from interruptions, fosters openness and honesty. On the other hand, public arguments can be particularly damaging. Not only can they escalate quickly, but they can also lead to feelings of embarrassment and vulnerability. Discussing sensitive topics in public can put both partners on the defense and may prevent genuine dialogue from occurring. Being mindful of timing and choosing the right environment can create a foundation for more productive and meaningful conversations. By prioritizing these elements, you can help ensure both partners feel heard and respected, ultimately strengthening your relationship. What are your thoughts on all of this that we just went over?
That was first things first. That was a lot, but my mind immediately jumped to open-ended questions. My bad. And more so the ones about like, how was your day, or like, what was the favorite part of your day? I hadn't thought of questions like that, like, ever.
Yeah, me neither.
Like,
I was like, oh.
Yeah, and when I think open-ended questions, I usually think, oh, how was your day? Oh, how have things been? Things of that nature. I don't really think of what was the best part of your day. And that struck me because it's like, it's a way to bring positivity into that environment.
Like, it shows like you care. Like, what was the best part of your day? It's more detailed, the question.
And right there, I learned something new. So, yeah. But, and then the stress that you put on active listening, like, yes, it is key.
It's a key step into communication and proper communication with your partner.
Right. Like, first couple months I was with my partner, I lacked I wouldn't say I lacked active listening completely, but I definitely lacked the awareness of it that I have now. When you're actively listening to your partner, it allows for so many things to just not go misunderstood, and so many pointless arguments to just not even exist.
Right, because they don't feel like, oh my God, are you listening at all to what I'm saying?
Right.
And like I said before, I have a lot to work on when it comes to active listening, because it's really, really hard to listen to somebody and then they make a point in what they're saying, and I'm like, oh my God, I want to respond to that point, but they're going to keep talking, and I'm going to lose what I want to, like, if I want to ask a question, or if I want to make a statement.
Exactly.
Active listening, I believe, is a skill that you got to master, and it is a very difficult skill to master.
Because I think when we grow up, we're kind of told to have empathy. Ironically, we're told to have empathy and put ourselves in somebody else's shoes. So I feel like, especially when my active listening was less developed, I applied empathy a lot more, which isn't a bad thing to do. In the right situations, empathy is a great thing to do. But I, from time to time, assume, oh, so you're bummed out over this. Or, oh, so you must be happy about this, because traditionally the thing I'm talking about may be good, but maybe to you it's not as good. And so that created a space where it was just like, a lot more misunderstandings happened, and it kicked off like a lot of just
unnecessary tension.
Yeah, just like not even necessarily tension, just stupid moments. And then looking back on it, I'm grateful that I have them, because without them I wouldn't have grown. But
and learned, yeah.
Yeah, Lord.
I like the ones where it's like guide future conversations, like the one where it's like, what are your career aspirations and how can I support you?
Yes.
Bro, like right now, it's like, for me, I'm going to support you no matter what you want to do with your life.
Exactly.
Because it's like, that's what you want to do.
Right.
I'm not going to discourage you from doing it. Now, unless it's like really, really bad, then maybe I'll like give you some well, maybe not the best option. But it's like, you want to support what your partner wants to do with their lives.
100%.
And you want to show that you're willing to support them.
Yeah, that's actually something I feel I've struggled with. I've been there as far as the support part. As far as just like, whatever you want to do with your future, I'm completely fine with it. I will follow you.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a lot of time and investment has to go it's an odd topic depending on what your partner wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
As far as future aspirations go, because depending on the field they may want to get in, depending on, unfortunately, money. My bad. Because people don't really work for like what they love anymore. Like, I'm noticing
they just work for like what, to get by day by day. But it's like, do you really enjoy the job that you're actually working 9 to 5?
Exactly. And
honestly, for me, I feel like this is the most important thing, is making sure they enjoy the job and the career choice that they've made. Because it's like, do you really want to work the rest of your life in a job where you don't enjoy it, and you're just like, you're just at the computer in a little cubicle all day,
Typing.
9 to 5. It's draining, and you come home to go to sleep just to repeat the same thing
Right.
over and over.
And so for my partner to be someone who's like creative and into art, I fully support that like 100% because it's unique. Even if artists aren't getting paid as much as they used to, even if XYZ, you're doing something you're passionate about, and I'd rather have you do something you're passionate about than to slave away at a cubicle at a 9 to 5. And
Hmm.
my grandfather actually has it may be a common quote, but I attribute it to my grandfather for some reason. You've probably heard it. Everybody's probably heard it. But if you're working a job that you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life.
Because it doesn't feel like work.
Right.
It feels like a passion, a dream that you're chasing.
Exactly.
Oh, I love that. I love that quote. That's really nice. I like that.
I'm not sure how many people have heard that before, but my cousin told me my grandfather used to say that all the time, and that's the reason why uh, I'm attempting to chase the career I'm chasing. Because if I can work with cars, or heck, if I can write for the rest of my life, whatever one of those two be, it's not going to feel like work if I love it. If I love it, then I'm invested, I'm good.
Right. And then the avoid mind reading.
Yes.
Yeah. Definitely want to like make sure you ask questions to clarify what your partner's saying instead of just assuming what you think they're saying, because how you interpret it might not be how what your partner means.
Right.
Or how they meant, like what they're saying. Like you might interpret it another way, but like asking them to clarify, hey, what do you mean by this?
Right.
It's better.
Especially over text.
Oh my god.
Text is like
Tone to text. I'm tone deaf when it comes to texting.
right.
And I don't know if it's like an ADHD thing or is it just a me thing. But it's like sometimes I can't sense the tone in the words that he texts to me.
Yeah.
And so I might interpret it as, oh my god, he's mad at me. But he's like
Exactly.
not at all. Or sarcasm goes right over my head.
Mhm.
And so I can't, I take it seriously instead of it being a joke.
Exactly. I
I'm
do it
saying.
all the time, and like, oh my goodness, no.
People don't understand. When I be telling them, like, bro, I literally cannot understand sarcasm. I'm not joking. Stop.
Right.
Stop saying, oh, you gotta be kidding. I'm not. I'm so serious, bro. I can't understand when people are being sarcastic. Like, I really will take it so seriously. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. People just don't understand it. Except for people with ADHD. They're like, oh, I get that. Because
I get
I do the same thing.
But it's just like text is like hell to me sometimes, because it'll be like I'll get an okay at the end of like a long string of messages, because we primarily text,
Hmm.
and so I'll get an okay and I'll be like, she's mad at me. Fuck.
That part. I'm like, damn. And like it's like the short responses too.
Right.
Like if they're just like, okay, I'm like, damn,
Mm.
that's crazy. So like you don't care, and maybe it's just like that's why I like having in-person conversations. If I'm having like a
Right.
serious discussion about something serious, I always tell my boyfriend I want to have this talk in person.
Right.
This is not a talk we have over the like over the phone, like on a phone call, sure, but I always prefer to do face to face.
Right. Because I can see you, you can see me.
I can see the emotions on your face and your eyes.
Right. I don't have to read through the other side of a screen or read your tone through the other side of a screen, and that's like the empowering part of being in person, especially in the type of relationship that. Are you in a long distance relationship too, or
Currently, yes.
same?
It's turned into long distance.
Got it.
He's from Baltimore too, so. But like whenever I go home, I live in Columbia.
Mhm.
So, like, I'm only, 22 minutes away from him. So, like, when I'm home for, breaks and stuff like that, then it's, not long distance. But when I'm here at school, 2 hours.
Same difference here.
It
Not
kills-
same difference. Same thing. My fault.
It kills me every time. It's
Oh.
something I'm getting used to. Because I've never been in a long-distance relationship before.
Mm.
And then, expressing how you feel, openly, all those things. Oh, the I statements.
Yes.
Let's see. What you're feeling. Yeah, I like making sure you structure your statement by using like clear language and making sure like, hey, I feel this way, and when and then you say like a specific situation I would appreciate, and then you state what you need from that person, and that kind of
Hmm.
gives them like clarity about what you're feeling and how they can like support you.
Yeah.
I like staying focused on the issues, so like not going back and forth on like, this is what you did yesterday,
Right.
or not yesterday, but this is what you did 2 months ago.
Or even just attacking another point within the point they're
Right.
already
And it's like,
making.
no, stay on track. Stay on track, or you're going to get lost in the conversation. The conversation is going to end up being 40 minutes long when it could just be like 10 minutes, maybe
Right.
15 minutes.
And we just wasted our time. I mean, I love talking to you, but we just wasted like 30 minutes of time.
Right. Going back and rehashing shit we've already talked about
Right.
like a month ago or something like that. Yeah. Um, and then again, we've already talked about timing and environment. So there's that.
Hmm.
How can we handle conflict without escalation? Well, you can try this method. Pause and breathe. 1. Take a time out. One of the most effective techniques is to recognize when things are getting too heated. Taking a short break, just a few minutes, allows both partners to cool down and collect their thoughts. During this timeout, you can focus on your breathing or even write down what you want to say when you reconvene. 2. Use I statements. Instead of saying, you always do this, try framing your feelings with I statements like, I feel hurt when. This approach reduces defensiveness and shifts the focus to how the behavior affects you, promoting a more constructive conversation. 3. Active listening. Show your partner that you're genuinely trying to understand their perspective. Use phrases like, what I hear you saying is, or, can you clarify that for me? This not only helps to validate their feelings, but also encourages a calmer discussion. 4. Find common ground. Try to identify areas of agreement before addressing the disagreement. Saying something like, we both care about resolving this, reinforces your partnership and creates a collaborative mindset. 5. Stay solution focused. Instead of dwelling on the problem, pivot your conversation toward finding a solution together. Ask questions like, what can we do to fix this? This shift can transform the argument into a teamwork approach. And 6. Maintain respectful body language. Nonverbal cues can say just as much as words. Keep an open posture, maintain eye contact, and avoid crossing your arms. These signals can help create a more welcoming environment for dialogue. Another method you can use: focus on solutions. First, it's essential to start by acknowledging the issue at hand without dwelling on blame. Instead of asking, why did this happen? Or who was at fault? Try framing the conversation around questions like, what can we do to move forward? Or what would a positive outcome look like for both of us? This shift in questioning helps to redirect energy toward constructive thinking. Another practical strategy is to establish clear goals for the conversation. At the beginning of your discussion, both partners should agree on what they hope to achieve. For instance, instead of simply expressing dissatisfaction about a situation, agree to explore how both of you can work together to enhance your relationship. This focus on shared goals fosters collaboration rather than competition, allowing both partners or both parties to feel heard and valued. Additionally, incorporating small wins into your discussions can help maintain momentum. Celebrating even minor agreements or progress can reinforce positive communication and encourage further collaboration. For example, if you both agree to try a new approach in your relationship, take a moment to acknowledge this step together. In conclusion, solution-focused discussions can significantly enhance communication relationships by preventing the cycle of repetitive arguments. By concentrating on solutions, establishing clear goals, and celebrating progress, couples can foster a more positive environment that encourages growth and understanding. Another method: use repair strategies after a miscommunication. 1. Acknowledge emotions. The first step is recognizing and validating each other's feelings. After a disagreement, take a moment to express that you understand how your partner feels. Use phrases like, I see that you're upset, or I understand this is important to you. This helps create an atmosphere of empathy and understanding. 2. Open the lines of communication. Once emotions are acknowledged, it's crucial to create a safe space for honest dialogue. Encourage each other to share thoughts without interruptions. Use I statements such as, I felt hurt when, to express your feelings without placing blame. This approach fosters open communication and minimizes defensiveness. 3. Take responsibility. It's essential to own up to your part in a disagreement. A sincere apology can go a long way. Acknowledge any mistakes you made, even if they seem small. This shows your partner that you are committed to the relationship and are willing to work through issues together. 4. Revisit the issue later. After some initial healing, it can be helpful to revisit the disagreement when both parties feel calmer. This allows you to discuss the underlying issues that led to the disagreement, fostering a deeper understanding of each other's perspectives. 5. Engage in reconnection activities. Rebuilding trust often requires spending quality time together. Engage in activities that both of you enjoy, whether it's going for a walk, having a date night, or just sitting together in a comfortable space. Shared experiences can help rekindle the bond and shift focus from the disagreement to the positives in your relationship. And 6, establish trust-building rituals. Create small rituals that promote trust and connection in your relationship. This could be a daily check-in where you share your highs and lows, or a weekly discussion about your relationship goals. These practices can help reinforce trust over time. What not to do? First, one of the biggest pitfalls is bringing up past issues. While it's important to acknowledge unresolved feelings, constantly revisiting past conflicts can lead to a cycle of blame and resentment. Instead, try to focus on the current issue at hand and work towards finding a resolution without dragging in unrelated grievances. Another common mistake is interrupting. It's easy to get caught up in our own emotions and jump in while our partner is speaking. However, interrupting can make your partner feel unheard and invalidated. A simple strategy is to practice active listening. Allow your partner to express their thoughts fully before responding. This not only shows respect, but can also lead to deeper understanding. Lastly, walking away mid-discussion is another communication barrier. While it may feel tempting to retreat when emotions run high, leaving a conversation unresolved can lead to frustration and misunderstandings. If things get too heated, it's perfectly okay to take a short break to cool down. Just make sure to agree on a time to revisit the conversation, so it doesn't leave your partner feeling abandoned. What are your thoughts?
Honestly, off the bat, just like apologizing, and not necessarily because it's a problem, not because it's just like a problem to me, but honestly, I've noticed, especially once again with text being the main mode of communication for me, I'll often say things like "my bad" or I'll say "my fault," which sounds like I'm trying to get pity upon myself. I've never thought of like saying uh, "I apologize" or things of like that nature because that's just the way I normally talk. I never thought about how that may come off to somebody else. But also solution focused what was it? Solution focused?
Focus on solutions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never really thought of that. I really just thought of like I mean I've thought of it of course, but I've never exactly reached that point, if that makes sense. I've reached that point a couple of times, but it's not really like it's always more so of a come back to it later also like you were saying.
Yeah, a few times in conversations I've been, I wanted to like find a solution or come to an agreement, and be like, okay, well, how will this help us both?
Right.
You know, there have been times where I've done that. Um, let's see. The repair strategies after
Yeah.
miscommunication, I think, like, okay, like we've already went over acknowledging emotions, um, open lines of communication, like making sure that you stay like, hey, I feel hurt, when, using those I statements,
Right.
to kind of like express your feelings without placing blame on the person, like, you did this. No, I feel this way when, or something like that.
Hmm.
Um, Taking responsibility is a new one,
Yes.
and that's something we haven't gone over. That's really important, is to be like, you know what, I take part in this conversation, this disagreement. It's not just your fault, it's my
Hmm.
fault too. We both have a part to play.
Right. And I feel like just taking accountability, that's something I've noticed throughout my life, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that not a lot of, oddly enough, I don't think enough guys do. I look at like my uncle and my father as an example.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle, his had his fair share of relationships. My father's also had his fair share. Um, my uncle, I feel, I can't say from his experiences because I don't know nearly enough of them,
Mm-hmm.
but he's usually the first one to take responsibility when something didn't go right or when he messed up. My father, on the other hand, I won't say he doesn't take responsibility at all, but it takes him longer to come around to it.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of that is based in pride. As a male, we pride
Yes.
ourselves strongly on, like, and not even just as males, as human beings as a whole,
Mm-hmm.
we pride ourselves strongly on being right. Like, even this is actually kind of funny because Sunday I had a argument, if you could call it that.
Mm-hmm.
Me and my partner, we were going back and forth. I went to sleep at 3 o'clock to 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And just to mess with me, she was like, "Oh, so you went to sleep for 3 hours?" I'm like, "No, I went to sleep for 2 hours. What are you talking about?"
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep going back and forth, and I'm just like, "All right, you know what? You got that. 3 hours it is."
Right.
But in more serious situations, it's just like taking responsibility, taking accountability. While, while like you said, it is a new one. It's just that's actually the weird reason why I don't have a lot about it to say. But I feel like we as males don't like take as much as we should.
I
Like,
hear I hear that females don't take accountability as much as men do. Do you think that's true?
mm, from the examples in my life, I'll say it's a tricky place to navigate because you have social media, of course. Now you have so many different insights to so many different people's relationships that now it's not just the circle surrounding you anymore. For me, when I was growing up, 5, 6, 7, it was that immediate circle around me, and so in that immediate circle, I'll say men didn't take as much accountability as women did. I can say that for my cousin. I can say that for my father. However, as I'm getting older, I have recognized instances and situations where, yes, women don't take as much accountability for certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but coming from my perspective, where I'm coming from, I've mostly seen that in males, and it's really just a product of my environment. I feel like, but
Mm-hmm.
do you feel like that way?
I feel like I feel like I do struggle to take accountability sometimes, and I believe, but and I feel like, yeah, there are women out there who feel like or can't take accountability for their actions. I don't think it has to do with gender. Like,
Hmm.
oh, women do not take accountability because they're women, you know.
Yeah, like
But from what I've seen, I feel like from what I've seen from my boyfriend, from my dad, from my brother, from my male friends that I've had throughout my life, men just struggle to take accountability because of pride.
yeah,
It's always pride or ego. It's like, well, I'm a man, and I'm always right. I
exactly.
can't be wrong because if if it's said that I'm wrong, that makes me look bad.
Right, and to add on to what you're saying, I've like my girlfriend, my mother. Again, like I said, I think I might have said this before. I don't know. My mother, my girlfriend, my I haven't said this. And my sister even get on me about like. Actually, I have said it once again, taking work so seriously and
Mhm.
so on and so forth. And I'm like, that also comes from a place of pride, a place of where I can't be wrong because if I put my all into this, I'll see good results. But how much really qualifies as my all? Do I necessarily have to be right about this to prove a point to them when they already love me for who I am. They already know me for who I am. Why am I doing this to prove a point? And I feel like some guys it's to prove a point.
Right. Yeah, it is to prove a point. It's like I said, it's like an ego thing.
Yeah.
I feel like taking time to step back and breathe and then come back at a later time to revisit an issue is definitely very necessary, especially when that issue gets really heated. But like, oh my god, the what not to do's. Okay, bring up past issues. We've already gone over that.
Yeah.
Interrupting. We've already gone over that. But walking away mid discussion.
Yes.
I hate that. I hate it. My boyfriend does it a lot. And I hate it when he does that because I feel like it's really rude and disrespectful to me because it's like, wow, so you're just going to walk out while I'm talking.
Right.
I wouldn't do it to you, though.
Exactly.
But you're going to do it to me. That's disrespectful. It's like, it's just a respect thing.
Right.
And it's just like, okay, if you're frustrated, then just ask, hey, can we return to this at a later time? I need time to, take a breather and recollect myself. And then we can, come back to this conversation. But just like getting up and walking out of the room, that or going on your phone and just like completely like
ignoring, and
disengaging, that's so disrespectful and rude to do to your partner.
And I kid you not, my father does the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He'll now, given the conversation doesn't get heated all the time, but when it does get heated, he'll walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother feels the same way you feel. She doesn't like that. And I'm sitting here like just watching as it happens, and she's actively saying, why do you have to walk away from the conversation? Why are you always walking away? Why are you always running away when we're in the middle of the discussion? And what I found for him was it was actually sort of related to health issues and blood pressure. And so he started to just walk away from conversations. It is rude, and I'm not trying to argue in any type of way. It isn't. But for him, that was just personally like his way of
helping himself
take
control.
But at the same time, it's like you could at least have, the decency to sit here and be like, look, I don't have the time for this right now. Can we come back to this later? And then walk off. It's simple.
It's very easy to do that, and then just outright walking out on your partner.
And it's so small and easy to miss because we actively act how we feel in the moment. Mm-hmm. I actively act how I feel in the moment. Mm-hmm. And so some days I'm passive though, so I don't really do anything. Mm-hmm. I'm fine. I'm more so chill. But it'll be times where I'm just like, I just don't want to be a part of any conversation. And so, unironically, when I'm face to face with those same people and we're talking about something, I actively withdraw because I can't take it. It is rude, but sometimes I can't take it. So for that type of person, a solution needs to be crafted where it's like, how can we keep you in this space long enough for you to address how you feel?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with that. All right, now how can we build empathy and understanding? Well, one of the few things you can do is empathetic listening. You can try active listening where, you say things like, I hear you, or that sounds really challenging. Saying things like that can go a long way in showing you care and that you are present in the moment. And, make sure that, you're not planning your responses, but, so that you're, ready to speak, but just, listen to them instead of planning your responses.
Right.
Ask open-ended questions. So instead of yes or no questions, ask open-ended questions that encourage deeper conversations. So you can ask, are you, instead of saying or asking, are you okay? Ask instead, how did that situation make you feel? It's a more detailed question. And it kind of develops more thought processes, more responses,
Yeah.
Um, Practice reflection. This is one we haven't gone over.
Mm.
After your partner shares their feelings, take a moment to reflect back what you've heard. For example, you might say, "It sounds like you felt overwhelmed by that situation." This not only shows that you're listening, but also gives your partner an opportunity to clarify or expand on their feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Check in regularly, regularly ask, "How are you feeling today?" Or, "Is there anything on your mind?" That kind of helps create like that open dialogue that, for their like emotional needs.
Yeah.
And like that proactive approach, it can foster a safe space for sharing and reinforcing your commitment to understanding your partner's feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Be mindful of nonverbal cues. So often, what
Yes.
isn't said can be just as important as verbal communication. Pay attention to your partner's body language, tone of voice, and facial expressions. These nonverbal cues can provide insight into their emotional state and help you respond with greater empathy. And then lastly, like, show vulnerability.
Yes.
Like, don't hesitate to show or share your own feelings and experiences. By being open about your emotions, you model vulnerability and encourage your partner to do the same. You can try validating each other's feelings.
Ooh.
Okay? First, let's recognize that disagreements are a natural part of any relationship. It's how we handle these disagreements that can either strengthen or weaken our bond. One practical strategy, like I said before, active listening. Next, you can validate their feelings. Even if you don't agree with their perspective, acknowledging their emotions goes a long way. You might say, "I understand why you feel that way. It makes sense given what you're going through." This not only helps your partner feel heard, but also encourages them to be more open in return.
Mm-hmm.
Another effective strategy is to take a moment before responding. So, just make sure that you guys are both cooled off. And if the emotions are running high, just pause and then start to respond. And then also, lastly, make a conscious effort to find common ground. So, focus on shared values or goals, that can help steer the conversation toward a more collaborative solution. So, make sure that you guys are kind of like wondering, we both want what's best for our relationship. So, let's figure out a compromise that works for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Respectful boundaries. Understanding the signs. One of the first steps in recognizing when a partner needs space is to be attuned to their emotional and physical cues. Are they withdrawing from conversations? Are they less engaged in activities you both usually enjoy? These signs can indicate that your partner may need some time alone to process their thoughts and feelings. It's important to remember that needing space doesn't mean they love you any less. It's often a way for them to recharge and reflect.
Right.
Make sure that you communicate openly. So, you may say something like, "I've noticed you seem a bit distant lately. Is there anything you'd like to talk about, or do you need some time to yourself?" That approach kind of shows that you're attentive and, you care about their feelings.
Right.
And also lets them know that you respect their need for space. So it does create a safe environment for them to express their needs. Set boundaries. Establishing boundaries around space is vital for both partners. Discuss what taking space looks like for each of you. For some, it might mean a few hours alone to unwind. For others, it could be a couple of days to reflect on personal issues. Being clear about your needs and listening to theirs fosters mutual respect and understanding. And then lastly, the importance of trust. Ultimately, trust plays a significant role in giving your partner space. It's crucial to understand that your relationship can withstand brief periods of separation. Trust that your partner will come back to you when they're ready. This trust not only strengthens your bond, but also enhances your ability to emphasize with their needs. What are your thoughts?
I wanted to adjust the vulnerability thing again, although like I feel like I've gone over it a couple of times at this point, but just allowing yourself, especially as a male, to be vulnerable. Growing up the way I did, I was told like, same old, boys don't cry.
Don't show emotions.
Don't show emotions. Never let anybody know how you're feeling.
Right, emotions makes you weak.
Right.
Things like that.
And just recently, my father and my mother more than my father, in the past, but more recently, my father has been stepping into that role and being like, "Hey, son, it's all right to cry. It happens." And I'm like, and I truly appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Just like from a father-son relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But then applying that into the relationship I'm in, it's also like it took me time to open up, cause it's sort of a complicated story. Um, I had just been getting over this one girl or whatever, although I wasn't really getting over her. It's weird to explain.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, even beyond that, just being open for me in that time, summer was a very chaotic, hectic time, and so being like being by myself was the only time I could really like vent. I could really cry. I could really do anything
Mm-hmm.
until like they let me know. My girlfriend let me know. My father let me know. My mother let me know. Hey, it's okay to cry. You can do that. If you
Right.
need that space to be vulnerable, we're here for you. We care. And so in the beginning, I would often reject that because I'm like, no, I need to be the one everybody relies on. Again, going back to that ego as a man, just to be the provider, being the I guess cornerstone for everybody to be able to stand on, the crutch for everybody to be able to lean on.
Mm-hmm.
But as of recently, I've learned just how important it is to be vulnerable, how important it is to really just be yourself around people and be yourself mainly around the people you love, because when you're vulnerable around them, you can be vulnerable around anyone, and that extends beyond just first family. That extends to partners. That extends to future relationships, and maybe even professionally.
I definitely agree with everything that you just said. Like, I feel like men do struggle with vulnerability and being vulnerable and just like expressing their feelings and their emotions because they've grown up. A lot of men, especially black men, have grown up being told that showing their emotions is like a weakness and they shouldn't show their emotions, they shouldn't cry. And I feel like sometimes not only does that affect them, but that can also affect the partners that they're with
Mm-hmm.
because then they'll tell their partners, "You're a crybaby. You shouldn't
Right.
cry. You know, you're wrong for crying. You shouldn't show emotions." And then that can cause your partners to kind of shut down and not express their feelings at all. And
Right.
you don't want that. You don't want your partner to not tell you what's wrong.
Exactly.
You know, you don't want an emotionally stunted person to, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, especially like being in that place of being emotionally stunted before, because then you just lash out on everybody close to you. It's a
Exactly.
nightmare.
Especially when you let those emotions build and build and build until one day you reach your breaking point, and then now you're just like boom, 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 yelling at everybody.
And that's all like summer 2024 was to me. I was in a very eh,
Melancholic?
yeah, space, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was awful. But I wanted your perspective on this as a woman. What do you feel about vulnerability as a woman?
I feel like I'm very vulnerable. I'm a very people say like women and emotions. If your woman's very emotional, she's very in tune with her femininity.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe like I do believe women are way more emotional than men. Just on a natural level, like this is biological. We're
Yeah.
just more emotional. We're more in tune with our emotions, and I feel like that does prepare us to be mothers at some point down in our lives. Um, and I do feel like women are more vulnerable, but I feel like when we decide to be with somebody, if we do date men or we're attracted to men,
Right.
I feel like we would want to be with men who do not shut down our feelings or emotions
Yeah.
because that's not healthy, and that can cause your woman to not express how she feels more often, and that doesn't allow her to be more feminine or to embrace her femininity,
Right.
if that makes sense. Like, I feel like women naturally are just emotional, and if you take that part away from them or you tell them not to fully embrace that part of them, it's gonna create issues in the future. Honestly, like
For
your
sure.
woman's gonna stop coming to you about issues she's going through. She's gonna stop telling you about something that happened to her. She's gonna stop confiding in you, and that is like a loss of trust, right? She doesn't
Right.
trust that she can come to you and you're not going to make it a big problem, or you're going to make her feel shitty about how she feels, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in oh Lord knows, um, just relationships and this is kind of odd for me because of course you're a junior, I'm a freshman, so I'm coming clean out of high school,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing relationships in high school where guys were just being ignorant and just like being like just completely shutting down women like what you said. It made no sense to me then, and it makes none now because it's like I sort of understand you don't like if you're not ready to deal with the baggage that comes with a woman and her
Then
emotions,
you shouldn't date.
Right.
Honestly,
first place.
it's like men like they claim they want a feminine woman, but then they don't want the shit that comes with being a feminine woman.
You get one, and then you're like, shit,
Like,
this
this is
isn't
a
what I
lie.
planned for.
You irritate me every day. You're a crybaby. You're too emotional. And it's just like, bro, didn't you want a feminine woman?
Right.
That's what comes with being feminine.
And that's what I want too, because I'm even in this relationship. It's just like now I'm sitting here, and it's like there's moments where I'm like, I wish she would be more vulnerable, because it's like she's being as vulnerable as she allows herself to be, which is a step in the right direction somewhere. But I want all that vulnerability, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just a big feeling guy. I don't know.
I feel like there's definitely like a balance. Like, you can be too emotional. I feel like you can.
For sure.
I feel like you can definitely be too emotional, but if somebody's able to like not be too emotional and they can, I don't know, they think with their heart, I don't know. I just feel like thinking with your heart is not bad.
It's not.
And people think that being too emotional instead of being too logical is bad, but I feel like you should. I really don't think there's a problem with thinking from your heart.
I do it all the time. That's actually how I ended up getting in the relationship I'm in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I was I haven't said this yet, but I was in like a dark space at that time, like around the summer for some reason, because it's just like these people I've known for years, like they're all like going their own paths now. They're living life.
Mm-hmm.
And so me getting into the relationship with the person I got with was just like,
Refreshing?
yeah. It was
it's new. It's like, oh.
Yeah, and it was
Oh,
just like,
okay.
it was a new experience, just like leading with my heart as opposed to like leading with my brain. It was like awkward. And then I started to notice my whole life I've been more of a lead with your heart type of person,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't, again, it's not a bad thing. You can have too much of it, you can have too little of it. But when you balance it, or heck, even if it is like stronger than your logical side, knowing what you want, not only in that relationship but just in life in general, that helps with that so much, because now I'm going with what my heart feels. And while I said earlier my major was mechanical engineering, I'm thinking about something more creative now. I'm thinking about something that maybe will allow me to express myself and those emotions, knowing how in touch I've been with them my whole life, despite rejecting them.
Yeah, and I think that being too logical could also be maybe like I said, there should be a balance.
Yeah,
There should always be a balance. And being too logical is not better than being too emotional.
it's not.
They're both like really bad.
They're two sides of the spectrum that have their pros, but
They have their
definitely
cons too.
exactly.
Like, if you're too logical, you're never gonna be empathetic for other people's feelings, even your own.
Right.
Like, you're not gonna understand how you feel. You're not gonna understand your own feelings. You're not gonna understand other people's feelings, and you're just gonna be like a robot. You're gonna be like, yeah, I'm better than everybody, and I always see the logical side of things, but I'm not gonna consider your feelings in the slightest because you're emotional.
Right.
And I feel like emotion is. What's the word that robots use? Emotion is it's what's the word?
I forgot.
I
know what you're talking about.
It's a word for like it's not working. It's
flawed. No.
Not flawed. I don't know. It's from iRobot. It's
unconventional. Maybe.
No, I don't know. It's like the robot can't process it.
Oh.
Like the robot can't process just like, yeah, no. This is
Useless.
inconvenient. Yeah, things like that. So yeah. Okay.
What other topics? I don't remember.
It's okay. Want to do like a real recap?
Woo.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Here are the key takeaways and strategies for better communication. Active listening. One of the most important aspects of effective communication is active listening. This means giving your full attention to your partner when they're speaking. Avoid distractions, maintain eye contact, and show genuine interest in what they're saying. Reflect back on what you hear by paraphrasing their points, which not only confirms your understanding, but also makes them feel valued. 2. Expressing needs clearly. Don't hesitate to express your own needs and feelings. Use I statements to communicate your thoughts without sounding accusatory. For example, saying, I feel overwhelmed when we don't discuss plans, is more constructive than, you never include me. This approach fosters a more open dialogue. 3. Recognizing nonverbal cues. Pay attention to nonverbal signals such as body language and facial expressions. These cues can often convey feelings that words might not express. Being aware of your own nonverbal communication and that of your partner can enhance understanding and minimize misunderstandings. 4. Timing matters. Choosing the right moment for important conversations is crucial. Avoid discussing sensitive topics during stressful times or when emotions are high. Instead, find a calm, neutral time to talk. This sets the stage for a more productive and respectful conversation. 5. Establishing boundaries. Discussing boundaries around communication can significantly improve the quality of your interactions. Make sure both you and your partner understand what works best for you in terms of time and space when discussing sensitive subjects. And finally, 6. Regular check-ins. Lastly, make it a habit to have a regular check-in with your partner. This can be brief moments where you touch base about how you're both feeling in the relationship. This not only keeps the lines of communication open, but also allows for early interventions if any issues arise. As we continue our journey toward better communication in relationships, I want to take a moment to encourage you to stay small and stay consistent with the new habits we've discussed today. Pick one habit to focus on, set a reminder, celebrate small wins, and check in with your partner. Remember, building new communication habits takes time and patience, so be gentle with yourself. By starting small and being consistent, you can gradually create lasting changes that enhance your relationship and deepen your connection. Thank you for joining us for today's episode of Love Unfiltered. We hope you found valuable insights into better communicating with your partner. And I would like to thank our wonderful guest for joining us today.
Thank you.
We're excited to tease our next topic, money talks, building financial trust together. We'll dive into the often sensitive subject of finances in relationships, exploring how to communicate openly about money, set shared financial goals, and build trust when it comes to managing your resources as a couple. Don't miss it. Be sure to tune in next week as we continue to unpack the complexities of love and connection. I'm Logan. Until then, take care and remember to prioritize your well-being and all your relationships.